This is the Variety Sports Network, created for the fans, by the fans. Now to your host of tonight's show.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Saturday Showdown, and we have a very, very special episode for you tonight. We are joined by Zach Kinger. His co-host will be joining us a little bit. We'll give him an introduction when he gets here. Zach, you guys are the combo that brings us We Hate Your Teams podcast. Tell us a little bit about your guys' podcast.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys having me on to start. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys and talking about the Week 2 slate here. So, yes, Kelley and I make up the We Hate Your Team podcast. Been in action since 2021. Kind of funny how it all kind of came to be honest. So, as you guys are probably aware, my co-host, Kelley Ford, he's really, since we graduated college, he spent a couple years as a professional engineer, but the last 5 to 7 years, he's really dove into the college football world and the college football analytics space. So since 2016 or 2017, I think were the origin of his rankings, he's really dedicated himself to the game, right, and trying to perfect his rankings and grow his name in the college football space. So he got an opportunity a couple years ago to go on the Statistically Speaking podcast with Blinken Riley and Kyle Umlang, the Big 12 guys, respectively, for Oklahoma and Texas. And he just immediately kind of got the itch, loved the feel of the podcast vibes, and decided it was something that he wanted to do. Now, Kelley and I are fraternity brothers from back in the day at Purdue, and both of us are just sports junkies in general, college football specifically. And we used to sit in his dorm room, watching First Take or watching PTI back in the day, being like, that could be us one day. We want to talk sports. We want to get on and debate, kind of like every young guy who's a fan of sports, their dream, they want to be talking about it. And Kelley came to me with the idea and said, man, we talked about this back in the day. You're a guy I think I would want to attempt to do this with. If you're interested. I was actually doing I dipped my toes in the podcasting game, was doing a little side NFL podcast. But when Kelley came calling, I was like, yeah, this sounds great. Both of us have a passion for college football and always been good buds. And for the opportunity for me to hop on and do this with him, we kind of took it and ran with it. And here we are 2.5 seasons later, still rolling.
That's awesome. Really great. Extremely excited to have you guys on the show. Yeah. You guys do some really, really great work over on the podcast. And then obviously Kelley with the website and everything. We could touch on that a little bit if he can get with us. Caleb, you got any questions for Kinger before we dive into some more stuff?
Yeah, so you just mentioned just a moment ago about how, you guys were Purdue alums. So kind of walk us through what led you to Purdue and how you got there.
Yeah, so I was pretty much Purdue born and raised. I grew up in a family of athletes. My grandfather actually he had a stint in the NBA, and he was actually the athletic director at Purdue for about 25 years. So my dad, all 5 of his siblings, a bunch of my cousins went there. So basically from the time I could walk, I was bred to be a Boilermaker, right? And so my earliest memories were of sports in general were those Drew Brees years back in the late 90s, early 2000s. That Rose Bowl game versus Washington literally is one of my first football memories that I have. And so it was just one of those things where I didn't apply to the school until 2 days before the deadline because I didn't quite know if I had the grades to get in there. I still maybe think a little nepotism may have played in my favor in getting me into Purdue, but I got in and it was just no brainer. And both of us met in the fraternity. Kelley has always been in the same mode that he's been, college football. I mean, Purdue wasn't very good back in our day. We were there 2011 to 2015, arguably the worst years of Purdue sports. And, I'll admit, I would spend some Saturdays, go out, do a little bit of partying. Not Kelley. Getting him out of the fraternity or getting him out of his dorm room was always a challenge. He was always sitting there grinding, and you kind of knew that this was the path that he was going to go on. So he brings the analytics portion of it to the podcast. My job or what I bring to the table really is just your casual sports junkie, right? I'm the guy who sits on the couch 12 to 14 hours. I'm not quite into the numbers like Kelley is. And so I try and bring just a little bit of more of that casual perspective for guys that maybe don't get into the analytics or the math piece quite as much. It took me 3 times to pass Algebra 1 in college, right? So you bring X's and Y's into those equations, and I lose it completely. So we're just a good tandem, and I rely on him, right? He's the credentialed guy. He's the one with all the numbers, and I just kind of come in and give my opinion and bring what value I can when I can.
Right. Hey, everybody has to have a little bit of balance in there. Some guys,
right.
Hey, somebody's got to be that guy who can connect with, the every guy. So I totally get that. Brandon, any questions for Kinger?
Yeah. So you're looking at this season so far. What has surprised you the most about about week one, I guess, really is where we're at.
I mean, week one was some really good controlled chaos there, I would say.
Yeah.
Definitely, you had a lot of teams that, jumped off the map, Colorado being the first one that comes to mind there. And then you look at a couple teams like Texas Tech losing on the road at Wyoming, Baylor losing to Texas State. So it was really a lot of fun. And I think there was a lot of unexpected events that happened there. I'm really impressed. The two most impressive teams to me in week one got to be Florida State. That win versus LSU, they're really looking like a complete team, college football playoff contender, absolutely. And, I will admit I'm not the biggest SEC guy. Sorry, Caleb, I see you got the Arkansas stuff in the back. I respect it. I had a great time down when I went to a game at Arkansas. But Bama's kind of my nemesis team. And so I don't say this with I don't enjoy saying this very much, but I think Bama was very impressive too. And I can't wait for that game versus Texas on Saturday night.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
Yeah,
absolutely. What about you guys? Who'd you guys say? Give me one team that each you guys thought was really impressive week one that wowed you.
Caleb, go ahead.
I was about to say, for me, my game of the week last week was definitely that Colorado game. For me, I think I said it was either going to be a really close game or a blowout, and it turned out to be that really close game. And I really think Deion's got something brewing up there in Colorado.
Brandon, go ahead. What was yours?
Yeah, so I think the team that kind of surprised me a little bit was Ole Miss. The quarterback play was, I forgot the guy's name, but yeah, with 97% completion rate on Saturday or something like that, which is extremely impressive for a team like that to come out week one and sling the ball around, to have that kind of I guess impact right away. They got a big game against Tulane this weekend too.
It's
so that'll be a fun one. So I'd say Ole Miss for me.
Yeah, no, I think those are both good selections. Because you guys took them from the good ones, I gotta give Duke credit. Duke,
rightfully so.
Every now and then you'll get a good Duke team, but a good Duke team's like an 9-win team. This Duke team feels like they might get to that 10-win hump and really, be one of the top 3 teams in the ACC. So I thought that win over Clemson, while Clemson wasn't all that impressive, the Duke defense bended, but it didn't break. And they made their own mistakes and still were able to overcome them and beat a talented Clemson team, maybe not a great Clemson team. So I thought Duke really impressed me on a Monday night where, a standalone game where everybody's watching. They showed up. And as you guys can see now, they're ranked in the top 25. So I got a lot of respect for Duke. I think they're slowly building something that they maybe not were building those years before. They just kind of burst. So I think Duke really put a good performance together. Kinger, before we move on to the meat and potatoes, tell us where we can find you guys in terms of your podcast, social media. Give us a couple spots where we can hit you guys up, and then we'll move on and get into the actual podcast.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we can be found. We are the We Hate Your Team podcast. We are found on all your basic podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, you name it. We also have a Twitter page, We Hate Your Team _. And then to plug my guy, Kelley, as well, who, again, he's the guy with the real numbers that a lot of people are going to want to look at. You got to check out K Ford Ratings. And then his website is kfordratings.com. And I will give him a shout out there as well. His website is excellent. It's very well done. It gives you his game projections of each and every single team every week, all season long, his power ratings, the K Ford ratings. So definitely everybody go check it out. Give us a listen. We appreciate the support.
Yeah, you can also find We Hate Your Team on VSN Collegiate through Apple and whatnot as well. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Brandon, for the shout out there. I got to admit, Kelly's knowing me giving the shout out. So I probably failed our guys there a little bit. Thank you very much.
Love that. Obviously, you guys are doing big things. We wish Kelley could be here, but obviously we're going to keep pushing. I'm going to throw a little curveball at you guys. I know we talked about the top 25 just a little bit ago. I want to hear your guys' top 3 Heisman picks right now. Little curveball, so take your time. Top 3 Heisman contenders as of right now. Take your time. I'm gonna give you guys mine first. I'm gonna stick with Caleb Williams at 1 right now. I'm gonna throw in Shedeur Sanders. I know it's early, but man, does that guy throw a nice football, and it just massive numbers. And my number 3, trying to make a decision here. I'm gonna stick with. I'm gonna put Jordan Travis at 3. Now I know his numbers weren't fantastic, but with all due respect, he beat a top 10 team, and that second half they really put it together. So that's my 3 right now: Williams, Sanders, Travis. Who's ready to give their 3?
So, I mean, Doug, I'll say those off the top of my head, those are the 3 that I was going to go with. I'll make the argument where for Travis Hunter to be in that conversation just after 1 week. There's no way we're going to get that continued production. We're not going to get the same repeat week in and week out that he gave us week 1 there. But if he's going to continue to be a 100 snap a game guy, his ability to impact the athleticism that he has on both sides of the ball, I think just after 1 week, I would put him in the conversation as well.
Great point. He definitely deserves that mention. I think he ended up getting 120 plays both ways. I mean, that's like you just said, that's so hard to recreate every week. And especially in that heat down there, hats off to him. I just thought, if he gets that second interception that he dropped, he probably is in my top 3. But Caleb, what do we got, man? Top 3.
Yeah. Like you gotta keep Caleb Williams in that conversation. He's just, it's hard not to right now. And then I'm kind of on the same page as you. I'm going to throw Shedeur Sanders in there. What a game by him over the weekend. 500 something yards in that game. Leading them to a victory over TCU. And then another guy for me I've got to throw in is Michael Penix Jr. from Washington. Yeah. I think he's a dark horse candidate that can, potentially go in that running as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Penix Jr. definitely deserves to be in that conversation. Brandon.
Yeah, so my 3 guys are all SEC guys. So I'm gonna go with Travis Hunter. I mean, Caleb Williams is obviously 1. 2, I'm gonna go Michael Penix Jr. and 3, I'm gonna go Travis Hunter. I think the ability to play for at least Travis Hunter. I know it was his first game of Colorado, whatnot, but the ability to play both sides of the ball that not too many college athletes do is impressive in itself. To be able to play the 100 plus snaps. Against I don't want to say they're a good TCU team or if they're a bad TCU team because we don't really know yet. But that's impressive in itself, is to be able to do something like that nobody else out there is really doing. And without Travis Hunter, what does Colorado look like also? Kind of throw the same thing with Caleb Williams. What does USC look like without Caleb Williams? What does Washington look like without Michael Penix Jr.?
Right. That's a great point.
All very good questions.
Yeah. I mean, it almost is turning into a most valuable player award. I mean, that's pretty much what it is anyway. But those guys, I mean, you take those guys away from any of those teams and they're 500 teams at best. Yeah. So threw a little curveball at you guys. Just wanted to get into that. Let's jump ahead to the pick'em. Pick'em ended up with.
We got Kelley.
Oh, we do?
Yeah. We got Kelley.
All right, great. We'll give him a second to get in here, and then we'll go.
Yeah, for sure.
Kelley, how are you?
I'm good, guys. I am so sorry that I am late. It's too long of a story to dive into and that anyone's interested in, but I am here now, and my apologies.
Okay, Kelley, we've kind of gone off a little bit into the show. I'll let you do it yourself. Give us a little introduction on you, and we'll touch on a couple of things about you at the end of the podcast. But go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself for the audience.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Yeah. So Kelley Ford, K Ford Ratings on Twitter or X. Zach and I have the podcast We Hate Your Team, which of course is a part of the VSN Collegiate Network, as we're so excited about. So yeah, that's kind of me in a quick nutshell with the ratings on kfordratings.com and K Ford Ratings on Twitter. Power ratings, resume rankings. I do both of those things. Got into the space because I've always enjoyed college football and always had kind of a knack for numbers, and kind of blending those two things together has allowed me to get into that power rating world. Bill Connolly, Brian Fremeau, SP Plus, FEI, kind of the two best out there that do it. And so modeled my stuff a bit after them. And have enjoyed being in that world for really, 4 or 5 years now, at least publicly. And it's been fun more times than not. Sometimes you run into some things that fans aren't thrilled about, and they let you hear about it of their team, but you address those issues and move on. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Zach and I have been doing the We Hit Your Team for 3 years now. Yeah, that's where we're at.
That's great, Kelley. Obviously, we've got a ton of respect for the analytical work you do. Been following it a little more closely this season. Just trying to learn as much as I can from all your information. It's a little bit of an overload, but when you get into the numbers, it's very interesting. Let me ask you a quick question that we kind of threw a curveball in here, so be ready. We named our three top Heisman contenders right now. Could you give us 3 off the top of your head?
Yeah, based on information we've seen to date, Caleb Williams is going to be in there because he's the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. His team's 2-0 at this point. So Caleb Williams would be in as 1. Drake May, I mean, he had all the preseason stuff. He's going to be most likely a top 5 pick. His team has the rivalry win in week 1 against South Carolina. So again, quarterback, high-profile team, good record. Those are kind of the prerequisites for it there. And then number 3, as things stand, my number 1 team in the country in the power ratings is Alabama. Jalen Milrose plays quarterback for the Crimson Tide, and there was nothing about his performance in week 1 that was a red flag for me. So again, I know they played Middle Tennessee, but at 56-7, they jumped right out onto them and controlled it from there. So I guess that would be my 3rd, even though it's really too soon to say much about him. But if they play like the best team in the country all year and take care of business against everybody on their schedule, as my numbers suggest they should, especially what we've seen with LSU falling in the power ratings, and Texas is a huge game this weekend. He's going to have a big chance to make a statement at home. But if they play like that every week, he and or others from Alabama will certainly be in New York at the end of the year.
Okay. Yeah, solid 3, a little bit different than ours, so we appreciate your perspective on that. Let's jump ahead. Obviously, we're gonna touch on the pick'em. I know you guys run pick'em also. We ended up getting 26 people in the pick'em with us. We've got a 4-way tie for first place right now with 70 points as the 4-way tie, and then a 8-way tie for second place with 60 points. So we are very close right now in our pick'em. Very early in the year. You can still get in if you'd like to. Just hit us up on Twitter, guys. Let's get into this next coming week. I want the game of the week for you guys coming into next week. Brandon, start us off with your game of the week for this coming week.
So I think outside of, obviously Texas, Alabama is a big one. Outside of that, I kind of mentioned it already. I think the Tulane Ole Miss game is going to be a pretty fantastic game. It's 2, pretty high-powered, I would say high-powered offenses that are going to go at each other. Throughout the evening. I think they played later in the evening, like
3:30
for
Eastern. So yeah.
So I think that for me, I think that'll be a fun one to watch outside of Texas and Alabama.
Okay, Kanger, go ahead and give us your game of the week.
I'm probably looking down in South Florida for that A&M at Miami game. We kind of got a little bit of a stinker last year. Both those teams really struggled. Looked like they're both majorly improved this year. We saw how that Texas A&M offense with Bobby Petrino looked like it's going to provide a different element for them this year. We know Miami loves to run the rock, pound the ball. Texas A&M not very good against the run last year. Very intrigued by that matchup. So that's probably number 1 for me outside of Bama, Texas.
All right, Caleb, go ahead and give us your game of the week.
Yeah, for me, when I'm looking through the schedule here, at all these matchups, there's a lot of good matchups, but going for one that, I want to watch this Colorado-Nebraska game to see what Colorado comes out and does after a big win, a big emotional win for Colorado. Sanders in his first win against a ranked team. Do they come out and, put up the same type of performance they had? Or, do they seem different somehow? I want to see, can they come out and have a repeat performance against a team that's not near as good as what TCU was? And can they come out and kind of just, put them away like they should now that they're a ranked team, repeat what they did last week and show really, are they for real?
Yeah, that's a good answer. A lot of Nebraska fans chirping, man. Not a lot of chirp on Twitter about Nebraska's defense. And it's great if you have a good defense, but if you can't score, Colorado has to score twice. And I think Nebraska's, they're going to be grasping at straws to win that game. Kelley, go ahead and give us your game of the week for this one.
Yeah, for sure. So every week I put together my watchability ratings for every single game that involves two FBS teams. It's a combination of, the projected quality of the game, so the average K-Forward rating score, and then projected competitiveness. So what's the projected K-Forward spread in the game? We're saying other than Texas, Alabama, because that is my number one game.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, Miami's already been said. Ole Miss, Tulane's already been said. So we're running through kind of the top three there that I write about for thelines.com every single week. I'll go with my number 4 then, hasn't been mentioned. It's Oregon at Texas Tech. Now, admittedly, this game did lose some of its luster after Texas Tech was surprised by Wyoming in overtime last week in Laramie. But I still have this as a one single digit spread, right? 9.5 points right now is what I'd make Oregon the favorite. That means they'd win this game about 3 out of every 4 times. Oregon looked really impressive last week, taking down Portland State 81-7. It's the first time in a long time an FBS team's put up 80 plus points in a game. And then Texas Tech, again, like I said, it was a surprise result for them to lose against Wyoming last week. I know it was on the road, but still they were a significant favorite by my numbers for them to have lost that one. I gave about a 1 in 5 chance for them to lose. And of course they did. Their offense is good, but their defense has really dropped, which to me could be the difference in that game. Oregon's got, a top 10 offense, and then this Texas Tech defense down in the mid 70s for me. So that's probably going to end up being the difference in the game, but it's at Texas Tech. It's in Lubbock. It's at night. You never know. Things could get weird there, and Texas Tech will be desperate to avoid an 0-2 start. So that could make it an intriguing game.
Okay, I like that pick. So when you 3 out of 4, I mean, as good as Oregon looked and Texas Tech struggled, I mean, they lost on the, the 2-point conversion type thing. Is there a chance where Oregon just blows it wide open in your opinion? Because that offense looks really dangerous. I don't think the Texas Tech defense was as impressive as, I just think they're going to really struggle with the speed of Oregon. So go ahead and tell me, is that possibly could get blown open in my opinion?
Yeah, definitely. That's certainly one possible outcome of this game. I mean, most college football games, as you're going in and you're looking at it from a probabilistic standpoint, there are many different avenues in which it can play out. And sometimes it depends who lands the first punch. Sometimes it depends on, is the crowd involved in the game for an extended period or are they not? There's all sorts of things that go into it. Definitely. I've got this Oregon offense number 6 nationally. It's a top 10 team in the power ratings. Texas Tech defense, like I said, their offense is fine. It's top 25. That didn't change much from last week. But the defense took a big tumble after giving up 35 points in overtime, double overtime, actually, I believe, against Wyoming on the road. The offense of Oregon could certainly blow it open. But again, they're going to be a more stiff test than Portland State was at home. So we haven't seen this Oregon offense in 2023 go on the road, and we haven't seen them play an FBS opponent yet. So the numbers are adjusting to what they've seen, but they're still weighted heavily in some preseason data that we have for both these teams. So Oregon's going up, Texas Tech is going down. We want to be careful about over adjusting too early on these two, though, because it is still possible Texas Tech at home kind of firms up and really stands up to keep their season on the tracks.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. Well, I have another question coming back for you at the end here. My game of the week, I'm going to go a little bit different from you guys. It's actually going to be tomorrow night. I was more excited about this game in the preseason probably because I don't think either team had their best performance. That was Illinois and Kansas. I thought pretty highly of Kansas coming into the year, getting their quarterback back, everything like that. And then I thought Illinois was going to be a contender in the Big Ten. So I'm intrigued to see if those two teams can get right and put together a solid performance for both teams, really. I think both teams need a good game to beat one another, but I want to see a little bit more than what we saw in their opening games. So Illinois and Kansas, that's going to be at Kansas tomorrow night at 7:30.
The blackout jerseys.
Yeah. Got to love the blackout jerseys.
Yeah.
Okay, so that takes care of games of the week. Guys, let's jump ahead to our week 3 picks. Now, we base our 10 games off of the pick'em schedule, obviously. Guys, we're just going to go in order here. Notre Dame versus NC State is our first game to pick. Caleb, go ahead and give us your winner of that game.
I think this is an easy one. Notre Dame, they looked really good week 1 against, the Philippine school they played, and they came out and followed it up with a win last week. I think this team has a chance to be pretty decent this season.
Yeah. Kanger, what do you got? Notre Dame?
Yeah, I'm on Notre Dame for 10 here. Just one tidbit on this. This was actually a game last year when Sam Hartman was with Wake Forest. He struggled a little bit versus NC State defense. Ended up throwing three interceptions, 4 interceptions, 3 sacks in that game. They ended up losing the game. He's in a much better spot this year with a much better offensive line, better weapons. Notre Dame defense looking good. So I'm all over Notre Dame this week. I got him for 10 confidence points.
Brandon, what do what? Notre Dame,
Yeah,
NC State.
I think it's easy to go with Notre Dame. The way they've been playing the last, you look at week 0, look at week 1. They're a tough team. Their offense is rolling, their defense is lights out. They're gonna be tough to beat now and later down the road.
Kelley, what do you got? Notre Dame?
Yep, my number's like Notre Dame in this one by about 12 points. It's an 80% win expectancy for the Irish. I think they've got the 2 best units on the field, both offense and defense, better than the Wolfpack in this one. So I've got Notre Dame. And is it confidence point style? Sorry if I missed that. I have them for 9 if it is.
We do the pick 'em where you just pick them straight, and then we do confidence. So obviously you can put them both. I believe I've got Notre Dame. I believe I got them at the 10 confidence also. Very confident. Hartman, he's in a better spot than obviously last year. Notre Dame seems like a team that could contend going forward. Obviously, the big test will be against Ohio State here in a couple weeks, but I think Notre Dame wins pretty comfortably against NC State this year. Moving on, next game, Utah versus Baylor. Let me lead us off. I think Utah keeps going, keeps the winning alive. I got them beating Baylor. Caleb, what do you got?
Yeah, kind of same following up you there. You got Utah, Baylor, with that loss last week, Texas State did not look great in that game, and with the win, Utah was able to get over Florida coming out and just kind of really controlling that game. I think Utah takes this one.
Kinger, what we got?
I'm also on Utah on this one, but I am a little bit more of a believer, I'd say, than most in Baylor to bounce back this week. I still am high on Dave Aranda as a coach. You got to believe that performance last week was hopefully a little bit of an anomaly for that Baylor program. So I like them to keep it close, but I think Utah is too physical. So I got the Utes.
Brandon, you pulling for an upset?
No. I would love to say yes, but Utah's coming off a big win against Florida. Imagine they're going to keep the confidence rolling, keep the high energy and stuff that they're going to take into Baylor.
Okay, Kelley, go ahead and close us out. Who do you got?
Yeah, I've got Utah in this one by about 11, 78% win expectancy for the Utes. Only Arkansas State and North Texas guys fell farther from week 1 to week 2 in my power ratings than Baylor. They are down 6.6 points this past week. I was really excited about this game. And then last week happened in Waco, and I just don't know. This defense is not what we thought. It's number 96 for me right now nationally. I'm hoping they bounce back. Kinger, I know you've got some faith. I hope they do because I want to see a good game. But give me Utah for 8 confidence points.
Gotcha. Same boat. Yeah, I believe I have them at 8 confidence points also. I expected more from Baylor, guys. You come out and you play – they got behind late and they couldn't make up it. They didn't have enough time to make it up. So yeah, Utah putting that one pretty comfortably. Here's the game that I feel like probably the most eyeballs are going to be on this week: Colorado versus Nebraska.
Yeah.
Kelley, let's start with you. Can Nebraska win this game?
Not only can Nebraska win this game, my numbers actually have the Cornhuskers favored right now by 3 points. Zach and I talked about this on We Hate Your Team. I've talked about it other places too. Colorado was certainly impressive in their week 1 win on the road at TCU. Only Oklahoma is up more points from week 1 to week 2. I talked about Baylor being one of my biggest fallers. Only Oklahoma is up more than Colorado for me this week. Colorado's up 6.3 points per game from last week to this week. Very, very impressed. I was clearly too low on Colorado coming into this year, which is not overly surprising to me. USC was the same last year. It's hard to account for teams that have this much roster turnover in 1 year. I was surprised, though, just how easy the Colorado offense made it look against TCU, a team coming off a national championship game appearance a year ago. This offense, for me, up from number 88 to now number 47. We're giving Colorado a lot of credit, and we should. I do think it's worth asking the question, is TCU as good as we think they are or going to be in 2023, or was 2022 kind of a one-hit wonder for them? It's too soon to say. I'm just saying, let's keep that in mind before we anoint Colorado as this big, bad, awesome team. The offense is very good, and it'll keep rising. I have serious concerns about this defense, guys. They are power rated number 108 for me out of 133 teams. I'm not saying that this Nebraska offense is going to be the one that tests them. I don't think it will be. But down the road in the Pac-12, when they're playing some of the best quarterbacks in the entire country, some really good offenses in that league, they could run into some trouble. The numbers like Nebraska by 3. I fully admit it has not caught up to probably how good Colorado is. But that's where I'm going. So I take Nebraska with 3 confidence points because I'm going to follow the numbers.
Cool. Brandon, what do you got?
So I apparently made some Cornhusker fans pretty upset.
Pretty easy to do these days.
Yeah, picking Colorado to win by 25.
Wow.
Yeah, so I could be completely wrong. I don't know, but I'm gonna stick with Colorado. I don't know if they'll win by 25, but I think Colorado will go ahead and take the win this week. Their offense is a lot to handle, and Nebraska just did, for me they didn't show enough against a not so great Minnesota team. I don't know. The Nebraska team is just hard to for me right now to see what they're going to be like against a team like Colorado.
Okay, Kinger, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, my gut tells me like Brandon just to go immediately hop all over Colorado here and hammer Colorado this week. But I am a little bit hesitant. I am picking the Buffaloes. I think they are going to win that game. I think that environment, this Boulder this weekend is going to be real special. Mm-hmm. But I do have some concerns about that defense still. They got torched a little bit versus the TCU offense that, again, we're not sure exactly how they're going to look this year. And if you look at Nebraska, Jeff Sims is a great dual threat quarterback. They struggled versus the run last week. I think he can bring an element to the game that Colorado obviously has not seen thus far this season. The big thing with him is to take care of the football. The turnover issues with him in Nebraska go all the way back to Georgia Tech. So if he takes care of the football, I think Nebraska's going to be in this game. If they end up having a couple of turnovers or 2, I could see Colorado winning this by 2 scores as well.
Yeah, it's hard to win a football game with 5 turnovers.
Yes.
Yep, exactly.
Caleb, go ahead and give us your selection.
Yeah, for me, I'm going Colorado and Coach Prime. You know, I love what I saw last week from that offense. You know, like several of you guys said, it's going to be interesting to see how this defense does this week against a Nebraska team with that, dual threat quarterback. You know, it'll be interesting to see do they have improvement from last week, and do they keep this close, or does this get blown wide open?
I'm going to go Colorado. I do think it's going to be a little more difficult to defend Sims at Nebraska than what they had to deal with at TCU. But at the same time, I believe that Colorado has the best athletes on the field on offense. They have the best player on defense. But he's going to have to adjust his game to deal with Sims' running ability. So it will be interesting to see how they match up with this. But I didn't see anything from Nebraska that made me think they could slow down such a high-powered offense, because Minnesota doesn't provide that. I mean, the quarterback from Minnesota threw 44 times for 196 yards. It's just not – it's not going to be the same when you're dealing with Shedeur Sanders, who is very, very accurate with the ball. So I'm going to go with Colorado. I don't think it's going to get crazy, but I think, 10-point victory feels right to me. Next game on our list, the Battle of Iowa. Iowa versus Iowa State. Caleb, go ahead and give us your winner on that one.
In this game, I think I'm going to go with Iowa. The Hawkeyes, they come out and, get the win over Iowa State.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give mine. I got Iowa also. I didn't see much from Iowa State that made me believe that they could deal with Iowa's defense. Iowa's year in and year out is going to always have a stellar defense, and I just don't think Iowa State has the players to overcome that discrepancy. Kinger, who you got?
I'm also with you guys on Iowa. This was my one confidence point this week. You never know what you're going to get in this game, and we can all be real about it. It's probably going to be some pretty ugly football, over under total 36 there. So I like the Cyclones to probably keep them in it. That Iowa offense got off to a hot start last week, but really struggled to run the ball after that. Iowa State, decent defense. But at the end of the day, I still think the Iowa offense is the best, is going to be able to do enough versus that Iowa State defense to win on the road.
Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, so I said earlier in one of the earlier episodes that Iowa's defense is going to give some teams some trouble. Iowa State's going to be one of those teams that's going to have some trouble with Iowa's defense. But then again, like Kinger said, it's Iowa State, so you never know. It's a rivalry game. It's an in-state game. Those games always mean something to those guys and to the not just the crowd, but to the coaching staff, to the schools. So you never know what we're going to expect. But I'll stick with Iowa.
Kelley, go ahead and break that down for us. Iowa versus Iowa State.
Not a ton to add on top of what's already been said. The defense is reigning in this game. The Cyhawk, I love it. We're getting a huge rivalry game in week 2. We don't get many of these early in the year, so I'm going to be watching. I know general college football fans love points. Probably not going to get a lot in this one. Iowa defense number 3 nationally. Iowa State number 7. Both offenses outside the top 80. So it is going to be a defensive battle. King, I love how you said the Iowa offense got off to a hot start. They scored 24 points against Utah State.
A hot start first half. They were up 14-0 in the first quarter. That's what I meant.
I know what you meant. I'm more laughing at we've all just adjusted our frame of reference to say, 14 points. Man, they got off to a great start. Whereas most teams that's true. That's a slow start for the good offenses, right? Especially against a Utah State. So give me Iowa in this game. I've got it as a pick 'em, a 51% win expectancy for the Hawkeyes. I have no idea what to make of it though, guys. It's going to come down to which offense can make one, maybe 2 big plays. And that's really stretching it. Are either of these offenses going to be able to make 2 big plays against these good defenses? I don't know. But every single year, this game is fun to watch. So give me Iowa. I'll take them with 1 confidence point. Because like you said, King, I don't know what to make of it, but it's going to be fun. It's a rivalry.
To be fair, guys, when you said Iowa was hot to start the game, they scored in 42 seconds? So
yes. Thank you, Doug. Thanks for coming to my defense.
Pretty electric for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
It wasn't a shot, King. It was a joke about, man, we've really changed our frame of reference for Iowa.
It was a shot across the bow for sure. It was a
shot. Absolutely.
What I get for trying to have fun. My bad.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to a game I think we all have circled this week: Ole Miss versus Tulane. I gotta say right off the bat, I had this lower on my confidence because I had a hard time picking who I thought. I ended up going with Ole Miss. I think I had them at 3 confidence or 2. Kelley, go ahead and break that down for us. Ole Miss versus Tulane.
Gosh,
I got this as one of the best 3 games of the week. Wrote about it for thelines.com. I like Ole Miss by about 8.5 in this one, but I love this game as well, Doug. It's not every day you get a Power 5 team, let alone a ranked Power 5 team, going to a Group of 5 stadium. Now, this is not your typical Group of 5 team. Of course, Tulane coming off a New Year's 6 win in the Cotton Bowl last year against USC. They are ranked themselves in the AP poll if you subscribe to such listings. And so Tulane is a very good team. They're going to have that home crowd behind them. They have the confidence they can do anything coming off the year that they had. And my numbers like Tulane in every single game they played this year, with the exception of this game against Ole Miss. So they are going to be fired up and ready for it. Ole Miss, top 10 offense. That offense impressed me last week in a Mercer game that they won 73-7 at home. This is high-powered offenses, good enough defenses on both sides of the ball, but I just think Ole Miss has the advantage here, kind of on both matchups. And so give me Ole Miss 8.5 points on the road, but that's going to be tricky. When you got to go on the road in college football, Texas Tech saw it last week. It's hard, right? So I'm excited. Ole Miss 8.5, 73% win expectancy. That means the Rebels with 5 confidence points.
Gotcha. Caleb, Tulane, Ole Miss, who you got?
Yeah, so I love the success that Tulane's been having. The Green Wave, it's been really great, but for me, it's that juggernaut of Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart that I think they go on the road and get the win here.
Okay. Kinger, anything different?
Yeah, no, I'm on Ole Miss here as well, but I like Tulane to keep this close, and I'm actually leaning towards betting Tulane plus 7.5 right now. Michael Pratt, this is a very, very solid QB, and this Ole Miss defense, they brought in some transfers, hopefully to shore it up. They had a great start to the first half of last year, but really dove off. I think Pete Golding's going to get them going in the right direction. I just don't know if they're there yet. Tulane at home, I think it's going to be a raucous environment next weekend, so I like Tulane to stay in this one, but ultimately Ole Miss is going to be too much.
And Brandon finishes off.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Ole Miss as well. I think the quarterback play is going to be the difference here for Ole Miss. If he can continue with the way he played last week, the 97% completion rating, I think that's what something like that was like 97.3 or something, if I remember right. That's hard. That's hard to compete against anyways. If you have a quarterback who can sling the ball, who makes completions, it's hard to beat.
Totally with you. Move on to the next game. The Texas A&M versus Miami game should be another good one. I guess I got a question for all you guys. Is the U ever going to come back? Are we ever getting the U back? I don't see it, guys. Do you guys see the U ever being the U again? Anybody? Does anybody see it?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Okay. Can you tell me why?
Any program that has multiple national championships, even within what I guess that last one would have been about 20 years ago now. So it's going farther back, but multiple national championships in the last 40 years. More importantly, located in the recruiting hotbed that is Florida. All that has to happen is they have to follow the blueprint that they did in the early 1980s. You keep just half of the talent that is coming out of South Florida at home, and you are immediately a national championship contender. When the field expands to 12, makes it easier to get in the playoffs. Talent will win out. And if they're able to collect enough talent just from their own backyard, and every single program in the country is recruiting their backyard now, even more so than it was way back when Miami rose as a power in the 80s. I understand that. But you have that brand. You have the U. You have South Florida. You have currently a Power 5, maybe Power 4, maybe Power Less moving forward conference. But whatever happens at the ACC, before or after 2036, when the grant of rights expires, Miami will have a home in the Big Ten or the SEC, more likely. If I had to guess which one, they seem to fit the SEC more. They will end up in the Power 2, 3, whatever it is, conferences. They're in South Florida. They have the history. Absolutely. Miami is going to continue to be a national power in college football, in my opinion.
Now, they did just have somebody say they're going to the transfer portal today, right? Was that Miami?
I didn't see that news. Didn't see that.
I think you're thinking.
No, that's Florida. It's Florida.
Florida. Okay,
Yeah,
so I just had it backwards. Okay, I thought I saw somebody in Miami.
Question for you: when you say national power, what qualifies that? Because I wouldn't say the winning and the losing or the wins have equated to a national power over the past probably 10 years now. What would you consider a national power?
Brand.
Miami. The brand to me. I mean, this is a reason why Nebraska continues to be a quote national power, if you will. They don't have the winning recently either. They have the national championships most recently, even farther than Miami's most recent one. But to me, it's brand. But also, again, I cannot stress enough, they're in Florida, and that is one of the most prolific states in producing high school football talent. They have the academies down there too. You are in a great location, and you will be set up for success if and when you're able to keep that talent at home. To me, UCF is well positioned moving forward now that they're in the Big 12. It's a Power 5 conference because they are in the state of Florida. Houston, same thing. They're in a better position than others because they're in Texas, right? Florida, Texas, Georgia, California, these states that Southern California, I should say. If you're in these locations, you have a built-in advantage. It's called geography, and that's the way it is in college football when you're able to recruit to these places and have close access to these recruits. I don't know. I'm the only one that's supporting it, I think, maybe. So I'll stop talking, but I feel very strongly that Miami is in that position moving forward. I'd love to hear it because I guess I equate it. I get what you're saying. I guess I equate it to they have been recruiting well, but it hasn't really changed into the wins that it would take to continue being a national powerhouse in my mind. Now, resources and everything like that, yes, they totally have all of that to be the national brand. Saying all that, do you think Miami beats Texas A&M? Kelley, go ahead.
Oh, gotcha. I've got Texas A&M actually. After all that, I've actually got Texas A&M as the favorite in this game by 2. It's a 55% win expectancy for the Aggies for me. Both these defenses are really good. Texas A&M have number 11. Miami's number 13, up from number 28 last week. That's a big jump for a defense that really took care of business at home in the Miami Bowl, if you will. They played Miami of Ohio at home last week and won 38-3. That Texas A&M offense, though, much better than I expected in the preseason. They're up from number 49 to number 28 in the offensive unit power rankings. Game 1 under Bobby Petrino as the OC certainly went well for the Texas A&M faithful. They won 52-10 against New Mexico. So give me A&M. This is a rematch of a game from last year in College Station that was ugly. These teams had ugly seasons, both of them. Neither lived up to the expectations that they had, both off to good starts from a power rating perspective here in 2023. It's projected to be a 2-score game for me. I wouldn't be surprised either way, but give me A&M with 2 confidence points.
All right, Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go Texas A&M. I don't have too much else to say about that one.
Gotcha. Kinger?
Yeah, I kind of gave my breakdown when I said this was my game of the week outside that Bama-Texas one. So give me A&M just barely to squeak it out on the road.
Caleb, anything different?
No, as much as it pains me to say it, I've got to get the Aggies in this one.
Yeah, I've got the Aggies also. I just feel like they've got more talent on the roster than Miami does at this time. So yeah, I got it in a close one, but I got Texas A&M winning the game. Next is a lot of people's game of the week. Going to be a really important game going forward. This is a resume building game. We got Texas versus Alabama. Caleb, start us off. Who you got winning this one?
Yeah, for me in this one, I'm going with Alabama in this one. I think it's going to be an interesting game, especially with how it ended last year down in Austin. If I know anything from my years of watching SEC football, Saban likes to prove that he has a good team. And so I could see easily Texas coming in this game and, getting blown out in this game. But I could also see this being a close game too. If, like Brandon and they mentioned earlier, if Milroe plays anything like he did last week, then this could be a blowout. I know last year we saw a game where Quinn Ewers got hurt and didn't get to finish the game. I honestly think if he probably would have finished that game, Texas probably could have beaten Alabama last year. So this could be a revenge game for Saban to, really just come out and blow the doors open on this one. So I'm going to take Alabama in this one.
All right. Kinger, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tall task for this Texas defense this week. I mean, Milroe was so impressive last week, and I think this Bama offensive line is taking a step compared to where they were last year. Still some unproven receivers there, but I really like what I saw from that Bama offense. And Texas defense, definitely think there's some talent there, but on the road in this one, I don't know if they're going to be able to consistently stop Alabama. On the other side of the ball there, I really am looking forward to watching that Texas wide receiver Xavier Worthy and company matchup versus those Alabama DBs, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Caleb Downs. I'm really high on this Bama defense this year. They're going to need an excellent game from Ewers, for Ewers to win this one. I'm not sure they're going to get it, so give me the Crimson Tide to win this one at home.
Brandon, who you got?
So I went Texas because I'm down one behind Caleb. That's literally the reason why I went Texas, just to try to get the point back. So I mean, why not? Texas wants to prove themselves. They're moving to the SEC soon, so Alabama's going to become one of those teams that they're going to have to consistently play. So then why not show it now? Why not show that they can beat Alabama this year?
Kelley, what do we got?
Brandon, I love that. It's week 2. We're chasing that point already, and I love that it works. If you win, hey, I called this game, I got it. And if you don't get it, well, I was only doing it because I had to make up the point. So yeah. I love that. That is awesome. You are a pro at this, guys. This is my number 1 game of the week in my watchability ratings. It's everybody's number 1 game of the week. I wrote about it for thelines.com. Alabama is my new number 1 power rated team. They supplanted Georgia, past Ohio State too. They look so good in their game against Middle Tennessee just from the jump. They're now a 1.5 clear for me of the Bulldogs and the Buckeyes that top my ratings. They boast the number 2 offense, the number 6 defense. And this is, as I mentioned earlier, this is now projected as Alabama's most difficult remaining game of the season. And I do fully expect Nick Saban to have the Tide ready after a narrow 2019 victory in Austin last year when these two got together. I'm fairly certain the Longhorns held some things back in week 1, so they didn't have to put everything on tape for the Tide to study. But my numbers favor Alabama on both sides of the ball, though. This game's in Tuscaloosa. Nick Saban has not lost a game in Tuscaloosa since the 2019 thriller against the eventual national champion Joe Burrow and LSU Tigers. Give me Alabama. I like them by 12.5 points. It's an 81% win expectancy for the Crimson Tide. That is 10 confidence points for me this week. Although I do have to say, I missed the 10-pointer last week, so who knows? That was TCU, Colorado. Who knows? I could miss the 10-pointer again this week, and Brandon could be right in getting that point back. So I'll take Alabama.
Hey, no, that's great. I'm going to go with Alabama also. I think, like you guys said before, Quinn Ewers has to be really, really special to win this game. And I think he has that in him, but Alabama's such a long day to deal with. That defense, those corners, the size up front, it's just such a tall task to beat an Alabama team that's clicking right now. Obviously, it's 1 week, but they looked really, really good on both sides of the ball. I just feel like the size is going to wear on Texas. And Quinn Ewers, I mean, one small injury. We just saw it last year. One thing, and Texas is out of this game again. So I think it stays close, but I'm going to give Alabama a slight edge in this game also. Next on our list, game we mentioned earlier, Oregon versus Texas Tech. I'm going to get it out of the way. I think Oregon blows it open. I have a lot of confidence in Oregon winning this game. I think I had them at a 7 or an 8 confidence. I just did not expect Texas Tech to struggle like that against Wyoming. Maybe Wyoming's better than I thought, which is very possible. But Kelley, how you got this one going? Oregon versus Texas Tech.
I have a tendency to be long-winded. I've already talked about this one, so I'm going to cede my time. I like Oregon by 9.5. As I said, it's a 76% win probability. Give me the Ducks. I'll take them by 7 points. Wyoming, last thing, Doug, because I can't help myself. Last week, I had Wyoming number 89. Now they're up to number 78, so perhaps they are a little bit better. Time will tell. Give me the Ducks, 7 confidence points.
Brandon, go ahead.
Oregon.
Yeah. I figured keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, I like Bo Nix. I like Bo Nix.
Yeah, Kinger, go ahead with yours.
Oh, sorry, Doug. Yeah, I think Texas Tech's going to be too one-dimensional in this one. The thing about the Oregon defense last year, they really struggled against those big physical teams. They got, out-muscled in the trenches at times last year. This is not a Texas Tech team that's going to do that to you. Tyler Shug, really not that impressive week 1, so I'm with you. I think Oregon's going to blow this open as well.
Caleb, what do we got?
Yeah, give me Bo Nix and the Ducks. I think they come out and, just like several people said, I think they come out and blow the doors open on this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I needed more out of Texas Tech to believe this game to be close. Moving on, UCF versus Boise State. Caleb, how do you see this one coming out?
This is a tough one for me just because, I think sometimes you can't count Boise State out because they can have some talent and surprise you sometimes. But, just from watching Boise State against Washington last week, seeing what UCF did to Kent State last week, I'm going Gus Malzahn and UCF and the Knights in this one.
Yeah. Kinger, UCF, Boise, what we got?
Tough one here as well. I think Boise's going to keep this close. I think that defense really faltered there after the first quarter versus a very, very good Washington offense. You kind of anticipated that happening eventually, but Boise's got a good run game, and this is on the road. This is the farthest I think I saw UCF's traveled since 2015. So I think this is going to be a close game, but I am going to take the Knights to edge it out just barely as well.
Brandon, what we got?
Yeah, I think UCFS takes us. They're practicing at a specific facility that has blue turf too, I believe, so that they can get the idea of what it's like playing on blue turf, because it is different than playing on your typical green field. So just because of that, I think that it gives the advantage to UCF. Yeah.
And Kelley, what do we got?
Only in college football do we have the blue turf. Give me UCF. I like them by 9 in this game. 74% win expectancy. This is a team that I've impressed with after their week 1 win against Kent State. They really, really did well. They're up to number 24 in my power ratings. Boise State, on the other hand, down a good bit following kind of a lackluster showing on the road at Washington. They were in the game for a bit, and then Washington really pulled away. So a week ago, I would have made this UCF -2. It's actually UCF -9 for me now. So these two are two teams trending in different directions after just 1 week. Give me UCF 6 confidence points.
Going to go with UCF also. I think they have an offense that can even improve more. I think they've got some good athletes in Townsend and Richardson, the running back and the receiver duo. Plumlee's a solid quarterback. I expect him to keep getting better throughout the year. I've got UCF winning this one pretty comfortably. Bluefield or not, they're going to go out and kick Boise around the stadium this weekend. Last game for the picks this weekend, Oklahoma State versus Arizona State. I'm going to start. I'm going Arizona State in a little bit of an upset if you follow it based on some of the other stuff. I like Arizona State's quarterback a lot. I think he's got a lot of ability. Oklahoma State is a solid team, but I'm gonna pick the Sun Devils. Caleb, who you got?
Yeah, I think in this one, I'm going to go Oklahoma State. Like you said, it's going to be a close game. The spread in that game's only 3 points. So I think it could come down to a close game right at the end. Whoever gets that, crucial turnover, or whoever, gets that crucial stop, whatever it may be. But I think I'm going to go with Oklahoma State in this game.
Yep.
Kinger, what do we got?
I'm with you, Doug. I'm taking the Sun Devils here, and Kelley dogged me a little bit on We Hate Your Team. Well, he didn't dog me a little bit for We Hate Your Team. He made sure to point out that Arizona fell almost as much as anybody in his rankings this week, but anybody else. But I'm with you. I like Rashada. Oklahoma State, not overly impressive last week. And although the final score of that Arizona State game versus Southern Utah was only 24-21, they were in it. They did have control over that game for most of it. There was a weather delay, and there was a block punt for a touchdown there at the end. So give me the Sun Devils at home as well. That's my upset of the week in the pick'em.
Brandon, Oklahoma State, Arizona State.
I almost want to change my pick just to maybe get a head jump or jump on Caleb, but I'm going to stick with Oklahoma State with a win here.
And Kelley, round us out. Arizona State, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I'll reiterate what I said on We Hate Your Team. I didn't think it was dogging on King, but the facts are Arizona State's down 4.5 points for me this week. That's the 5th biggest fall of any team following their 24-21 win at home against FCS Southern Utah. The defense was what I expected. The offense was not. They're down from number 50 to number 70 in my offensive rankings. Oklahoma State fell too, though. I mean, they're down from 5.6 to a 3.3 rating. So both these teams did not have the week ones that they wanted, even though both of them got wins against FCS opponents. Give me Oklahoma State. I like them by 6.5 points. It's a 68% win expectancy. I said this on We Hate Your Team, and I'll say it again here. I'm picking a lot of road teams to win these games because that's what the math says. But I am a firm believer that the hardest thing to do in college football is go on the road, play a game, and win. So there's no way that I'm going to be happy with my record at the end of this week picking all of these road teams. It's just really hard for me to determine which are the ones that are going to lose. So instead of trying to find that needle, I'm just going with what the numbers say and letting things fall where they do. So give me Oklahoma State for 4 confidence points as I pick another road team to get a win in the competition.
Now, here's a question for you, because you obviously do the moral analytical approach. Do you take into consideration that long delay or anything like that? Does that play a factor in a team's momentum or anything like that?
No, it does not. That's a great point, Doug. I'm always the first to say no model is perfect. That includes my own. There are many factors that we cannot incorporate and account for and quantify from a mathematical standpoint that the viewer, the fan, whoever's in taking in the data needs to consider and then make their own manual adjustments to. The numbers don't get manually adjusted. As we look at them, we can make manual adjustments as we see fit. So yes, great point. There are things like that and others that you cannot quantify that the model does not explicitly consider.
Okay. Obviously there's a human aspect to it, aside from the numbers. So I just didn't know if maybe there was a way to incorporate, hey, they sat out X amount of time. It just, just a question.
If you can figure it out, Doug, let me know, because I'd love to put it in. I'd love to put it in there, man. I'm serious. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that, the human element of things always turns things around. So that's our picks for this week, guys. A lot of good information in there. Kelley, we didn't get to give you the proper introduction at the beginning. So here it is. Kelley Ford of thelines.com. Tell us a little bit about thelines.com.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Doug. And again, it's my fault you guys didn't get it. I actually texted Kinger and Brandon because I had text from them when I started the show. Now that we're at the end, I feel like I can share it. I'm not holding up the viewers and the content that they really wanted to see. Had a dog emergency, had to go take an emergency vet visit. My wife and I, we got the kids too. So all that. It's not a broken foot. We're all right. We're on some pain meds. Everything's okay. But that's why I'm late. So sorry about that. Yes, you can find me over at thelines.com. I'm writing 2 articles a week. I referenced one of them multiple times during the show, the top 3 games in my watchability scores. So for this week, that was Alabama, Texas. It was Texas A&M, Miami. It was Ole Miss, Tulane. Every week, I'll be writing about my top 3 games there in the watchability, kind of breaking down what do the numbers think about that. And then also the second article that I'll write every single week is about the Big Ten NBC primetime game of the week. So this last week it was Penn State versus West Virginia. This week it's Charlotte and Maryland. I know it's not the sexiest game. It's not the biggest game. As we get going in the year, we'll get those games. I have a feeling that it was worked into the contract with NBC and the Big Ten that every team or so many teams had to be on over the course of the season. It couldn't just be Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State every single week. So I think that's why we're getting Charlotte and Maryland here in week 2. But I wrote about that one.
Really?
So we'll be doing that. And then as we get going later in the year, I'll also do a weekly reflection on my most deserving top 25 versus the CFP's selection committee's top 25 to see where, if there are any disconnects, and try to dive into why those are there. So also doing a podcast over there with my friend Brett, the college football show for thelines.com. So yeah, that's where I am over at the Lines. I appreciate you guys letting me plug that for them. I'm excited to be a part of that team. But again, more importantly, I'm excited to be doing We Hate Your Team with Kinger and be a part of the VSN Collegiate Network and be on this with you guys. And again, just one more time, apologies for being late. I absolutely hate when people do that. I know what it's like when you've got a guest that doesn't show up on time. I promise I can try to make it up to you guys later somehow. Come on another show and I'll be on time. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. And We Hate Your Team with Kinger. That's where it's at every single week on the VSN Collegiate Network.
Gotcha. Kelley, obviously, we appreciate your time. Obviously, we're very happy the dog is going to be okay. Broken foot for a dog is kind of a nightmare. So appreciate your time. Kinger, obviously, same to you. Thanks for showing up on time.
That's just the first step in life, guys, is just showing up, right? That's what everybody tells you.
If he's going to take a shot at you, we'll fire one back for you. But we really appreciate you guys for coming on and joining us, providing a little different perspective on some sports we cover, college football. And then Brandon, did we get a subscription update? Or we at $3.98 still?
$3.99.
$3.99. So guys, like and subscribe to the VSN network.
So
399 subs. We're super close. We're just gonna keep plugging away, guys. Keep getting better. Caleb, you got anything before we get out of here tonight?
No, nothing new besides dropping a new episode of Whoop Pig Weekly this.
All right. Well, guys, that's all for us from the home field studio. And we will see you guys next week. Thanks again, guys. Good luck on the podcast coming up this week.
Thank you guys for having us. It was great.
Thanks, guys.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Hey, this is Brandon, CEO of the Variety Sports Network. Thank you again for watching tonight's show. Best way you can support us is by hitting that subscribe button, that like button, and hitting the notifications so you don't miss out on the next show.